With so many changes this school year, whether you're teaching virtually or in person, I think the question that all of us are asking ourselves is, how do we engage our students? How do we engage students when they can't get up out of their seats, when we can't turn and talk and have collaborative discussions with our peers, when we can't hold small groups? How do we get them excited about the content that we're teaching them? This week was my first full week in person for school. And I have to tell you guys, I tried out a lot of different strategies to hopefully get my students a little bit more engaged. And I'm happy to report that all of the strategies worked really, really well. So I'm going to be sharing with you all 5 tips for how to engage your students, whether you are in person or virtually. You can adapt some of these tips to be able to fit your specific needs. So let's go ahead and jump into the very first tip. So tip number 1 is to really think about the enthusiasm that you're projecting of the content. This means that you're not really seated up in the front just with your iPad or next to your laptop and giving the instruction. Instead, think about standing up, using motions, walking around the classroom, walking up and down the aisles. Have a really huge inflection when it comes to your personality. A lot of the times, the way that we act when it comes to the content that we're teaching is directly projected into our students. So when we're really boring and dull and not really excited about something, they're not going to be as excited about it. But I find that when I'm up and I'm walking around the classroom and I'm using my hands and I'm telling this story and I have the inflection, my students start to get really excited and they're following me and they're tracking and they're really, really listening intently. So I want you to ask yourself, what is it that you are doing specifically that you can change a little bit to be able to add a little bit more enthusiasm into your lessons? Start by standing up, walking down some of the aisles. A lot of the times it's really hard for students to try to hide that they're not really engaged in a lesson, especially if you're constantly walking up and down the aisles. They really can't start to fidget with things and play with other items because you're kind of forcing them and saying, hey, I'm constantly checking up on you. And so this is always a really good thing for me to use. And I know it's probably one of the hardest because sometimes I just want to sit. And this is very difficult for me because I've been teaching small group for so many years and now I'm expected to teach whole group. So walking up and down the aisles and constantly being on my feet is not something that I'm typically used to. But I do find that when I am up and I'm about, I see a lot more engagement in my students. Tip number 2 is to think about a movement, a word, or a phrase that you want your students to listen to while you're teaching. So this week we've been learning a lot about plot. And so I really wanted to reinforce the elements of plot with my students to make sure that they remember all of them from last year. So in order to do this, I had specific hand motions that I would have them go through for the elements. And so as I was telling them something or I was giving instruction, I would make a hand motion and then my students would then have to make it and say the word for me. So this causes them to have to really listen intently to what it is that you're saying so that when you are ready for that word, they're going to be able to respond very quickly. And I know that this is probably one it was difficult in the very beginning, but the more and more I did it, the more I realized how engaged my students were in that conversation. And they were doing it more and they were really getting excited about it. So think about the content that you're going to teach. Whether it's something in math, you might be talking about addition or subtraction. Find some of those words that you know that you're going to be saying constantly. You can either just have them say the word, say the phrase, or you can add emotion to it to give it a little bit more oomph. But these are very simple ways to build up some sort of engagement in your rooms. Tip number 3 is probably one of my favorites, and it is the most old school one that I could probably come up with, but it's timers and whiteboards. So I utilized whiteboards a lot this week, and it was such an easy tool, but the way that I actually used it was a little bit different. I would have my students open up their iPads and they would have to search for information. But as they were searching for the information, they only had a certain amount of time to do it, and they were required to write down what they found on the internet onto their whiteboards. It held each student accountable in order for them to be able to share, and it allowed me to be able to walk around the classroom and also see, okay, you have this right, you need to go back and check it, let me see what website you're looking at. And so I was able to give a little bit of direction as I was walking around. But it was something that was incredibly simple, but it did make everyone feel as though they were accountable and that they were learning something. And when I would walk around, some of my more reluctant sharers, I would just come up to them and say, hey, you know what, this is a really, really good one. And it would actually encourage them to be able to share their idea once we came back as an entire group to have a conversation about what we were researching. So think of some really creative ways that you can build in whiteboards and timers and build in that enthusiasm by walking around the classroom and double checking on them. You'll find that kids really enjoy that part. I think they always enjoy whiteboards and dry erase markers. It's like their favorite part of the day, I feel like. But very old school, very simple strategy. And if you don't have whiteboards in your classroom, you can take a colored cardstock and you can actually laminate it, and students can use that. Or you can find heavy duty page protectors that you can place a cardstock inside of and have learners use those instead. So super simple strategy, but one that I think will be very effective in all of your rooms. Tip number 4 is one that I feel like is another old school one because I've been using it since kindergarten, but it's one that really kind of helped to build up the energy in my classroom. And it's to use chants to congratulate students. Now, like I said, have been using these since kindergarten, and they're fantastic to kind of build one another up. But I feel like the more and more I use them, the more excited kids got with it. I do think that once you start kind of getting into the real upper grades, like I don't know if 6th graders would love this so much, but my 5th graders are still young enough to find this fun and interesting. I don't know, maybe 6th grade would love it. You guys would have to let me know. But I have 3 specific chants that I want to share with you guys. And with these chants, I use them periodically. And so as students would do an answer, I would say, all right, touchdown. And then my kids would go up and they would do the chant, and it would just kind of build that excitement. So as you move along throughout the day, just to kind of wake kids up, these are really easy to be able to implement. And you can use a number of them. I do recommend starting off with 1 and kind of building them up as you go. You don't want to introduce too many at one time because then students tend to forget them. They don't remember the moves. Everybody says the wrong thing, and it just becomes like a hot mess. So I have 3 chants that I've been using inside of my classroom that I want to share with you guys. The first one is a favorite, and it's called Firecracker. And in this one, you're going to put your hands on a praying mode, and you're going to make the sound. So you go on up, clap, ah. So it simulates the firecracker going up into the sky, popping, and then the crowd just saying ah as they watch it fan out. So one more time, I'm going to show that one to you. I'm going to say firecracker, and kids are going to put their hands together, go ah. They love that one. It's really, really fun. The second one that I have for you guys is one from Alabama. And I have to tell you guys, in Alabama, they love football. And so it was perfect for me to incorporate one that was revolved all around it. So in this one, I say touchdown, and the kids will put their arms up and they say, touchdown, it's good. One more time, I will scream out touchdown, and they will throw their arms up and say, touchdown, it's good. The final one that I have for you guys is one that I feel like is just the Texas heart in me. And because I am from Texas, I had to incorporate this one. And this one's called Cowboy. So I would say, hey, I want us to give them a cowboy real fast. And so they would throw their arms and they would rap like they're about to throw out a rope to be able to catch a bull. And so they would go, yee-haw! And they usually do it about 3 times before they fling it out. So when I teach this one to them, they throw their arm up, they go 1, 2, and they go out and say, yee-haw, and throw it on back. So those are 3 really easy chants that you can incorporate into your classroom, but also make it really, really fun. You can find some by Dr. Jean if you were to look her up. She has phenomenal chants that you can incorporate. Find ones that really fit your style, but those are the 3 that I use inside of my own classroom. And if you have some that I have not mentioned that you utilize inside of your classroom, definitely leave it down into the comments and share it with everyone else so that hopefully we can have some more chants that we can use throughout the year to engage our students. The 5th tip that I have for you guys is one that you're probably just going to look at me and say, duh, Bridget, but it is one that has really kind of pushed me to really explore the possibilities, and it's to leverage technology. I know with so many school districts out there, they are really looking to have one-to-one devices for their students in case they are to go remote. They want to be ready, unlike last spring. And so you start to have these devices in hand, and it's a great time to start utilizing those devices. If you watched my vlog from about a week or 2 ago, then you'll know that I don't do a lot of paper. And so a lot of the things that we're doing here in the classroom is what they would be expected to do if we were to go virtual. So leverage technology. And what I mean by this is look for some of those apps that you know that you're going to be utilizing throughout. And this can also mean websites, but I am an iPad school, so I'm used to apps. And so some of the ones that I've used, and these are actually some websites too. So I think if you're a Chromebook user, you could absolutely use these too. Padlet is fantastic to utilize as almost like a sticky board. So you would have like a question, something that you can ask students, and they could have their responses onto one specific board, and you can view everyone else's comments. So it's a really easy way to be able to kind of get feedback. I like to use it for exit tickets. They can add videos, they can add audio. So it's a really nice feature that allows kids to get a little bit more creative with their exit tickets. Another one that I've been using, of course, is one that so many of you out there are using, but it's one that's worth mentioning, is Kahoot. My kids love Kahoot, and I think if you have the pro version and you have the opportunity to utilize the really cool templates that they have, I think you can do so many different things with it, getting kids excited and engaged in the classroom, because they do have templates. Like, there's so many open possibilities. Like, think of all the great things that you're going to do with your lessons. Another one that I've been using and I love, 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 and I cannot recommend it enough, is ClassKick. I like ClassKick because then it allows me to be able to provide feedback, to go into students and to show them specifically, how to work a problem. And it's just a really nice feature that kind of allows me to do it live, which is neat. So I would recommend looking into ClassKick. They do have a free version that allows for you to have like 20 assignments, but then after the 20, you have to start deleting some of them. But they also now opened up a monthly feature where you can pay $7.99 a month to be able to have unlimited assignments, and they could do grading. It does so many cool things, and you can have folders. It's just phenomenal. And the very last one is going to be Pic Collage. Now, I know that this one's probably like, what? But I love Pic Collage. I love it when kids are able to develop visual representations of something. So we worked a lot with the genres this week. And so one of the things that I had kids do is they developed a visual representation for each of the genres that we learned. So they had to go online and they had to find images that really kind of helped, made them kind of think, oh, this is fantasy or this is traditional literature. And it really got kids thinking higher level. And I'm a visual learner, and I just really appreciate having some of those opportunities to incorporate images. So having some sort of a graphic organizer that you want students to put images or text or, both, Pic Collage is a wonderful app that kids can use and get really, really creative with it. And they get really excited. I swear, guys, like when I was doing the Pic Collage, it almost felt like I could like drop a pin and you could hear it. It was so quiet in my classroom. The kids were really, really into it. So that's it, guys. Those are the 5 tips that I have for you for engaging your students, whether you're teaching in person or virtual. Keep in mind that I am teaching in person, so all of the strategies that I've just shared with you, I've been utilizing them in person with my students. Yes, we have masks on. Yes, we are social distancing. No, we can't get up and walk around. And these have really, really helped me this week to be able to add a little bit more oomph into my lessons, to get kids excited to be back in school and to make it not feel like the most most boring, dreadful day ever. So I hope that you enjoyed the 5 tips. I want to know if you guys go back into the classroom and you start to implement some of these, come back to this video, go into the comment section and let me know how they're working. I really want to hear from you, and I want to know what's working well, what's not working well. I think when teachers come together and we share these ideas, we're really able to help each other out. And I think now more than ever, we need that time to be able to share some of these ideas, so that we're not trying to reinvent the wheels, so that we're not spending hours and hours trying to figure out how to do something. So definitely come back to the video after you tried them out. Let me know how they worked. I seriously can't wait to hear from all of you. So thank you all so much for watching this video. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up to show that you like it. If you are not subscribed, hello. Welcome. My name is Bridget Spackman. I'm a multi-age teacher in Central Pennsylvania. In fact, this year I'm only going to be teaching 5th grade, but I do teach 4th, 5th, and 6th grade learners across all content areas, but my specialty is in literacy instruction and personalizing the education of my students. So if that sounds really interesting to you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Also hit the notification button so that you can be notified every time I go live or I upload a brand new video, and I will see you all next time. Bye.